Hi everyone, my name is Sel Watts. I'm the founder of What's Next and What's Next PX.
What are some of the things that you did in the beginning to help you?
Yes. So I think the most important thing for me at the beginning was that there was actually two things. I had absolute clarity about what I was trying to create and why. So today we talk a lot about having vision, mission, values for businesses, and pretty much in most businesses I go into, they're just fancy words on a wall and they don't really mean much. But I truly understood big picture, this is what I want to create, and nobody believed in me. In fact, for the first 5 years, I just had everyone telling me that you're never going to be able to do what you say. And then I kept having babies, and so every time I was pregnant with another baby, they'd say, "Are you going to close the business now?" And I'm like, "No, I'm going international." And so I had this really clear vision, and I was really blinkered. So I never ever looked at competitors. I never listened to those naysayers and the people that kept telling me that I couldn't, because I didn't look like someone who could achieve what I was saying. And I understand that. And so I knew, I was like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to build an international business. I'm going to disrupt an industry. I'm going to do this is exactly what it's going to look like. And I was so visual. And then I basically, as I said, put the blinkers on and just went, just do it and don't listen to anybody. And it was so important. But I tell you, it was a different age, because there wasn't the social media like there is now, and there wasn't this influx of stories of what everyone's doing, and people, 12-year-olds just raised $5 billion and, sold out for whatever. So you're sort of seeing all this stuff and thinking, oh my God, I'm taking too long and I'm too old and all of these things. So I didn't have that, but I really do believe that putting your blinkers on and really believing in what you want to do and telling everybody else to fuck off was one of the key things for me. So one of the couple of things I'll say about this. Firstly, if you decide to have a business that has staff, you're going to have problems with your staff at any point in time. It doesn't matter how amazing they are, but people are people, and you can recruit the best people that are so awesome at what they do, but they're going to have life happen to them, right? So, and the likelihood of getting awesome, like 100% of awesome people in your team is very low. So you have to understand that just like we keep awake from things like cash flow, staff are going to keep us awake. It's sort of part of the decision to be a business owner. But one of the things that I have seen, having worked with hundreds of small business owners, but particularly in my own experience, is that employees need to be there for a particular season if you're in growth. So hiring someone and thinking that they are going to be able to stay with you forever and you're going to skip off into the sunset at the end is a really nice idea, but it's highly unlikely it's going to happen. So looking at what is someone going to bring me right now for the stage of growth, stage my business is in. So say you're small and you start with your first 5, the type of people you need for your first 5 are going to be very much engaged based on your vision, because your salary, your ability to pay is going to be lower, and you're going to get people that are there with you, coming along for the ride because they're so engaged with you and your vision. Once you get to 20 staff, you're going to have employees that expect you to be a leader and a manager, and expect you to provide all the benefits that they would get in a large corporate, but don't recognise that you're necessarily a small business. And the expectations of you as the business owner will change significantly to when you had 5 people that were your mates and that really were in there from an emotive perspective. That's the best stage, but it's, if you decide to grow, you move past that. And then if you go plus 100 and then plus 1,000, the requirements of you as a leader are going to change, and the type of people that you bring on are going to change. So you have to be, what I found in my experience was that the different stages my business went through required different types of people and different types of management. So for me, my development as a leader never stops, because as my businesses grow, they require something more of me. So I always talk to my incoming employees now that this is what you're bringing, this is what I can give to you, and at the point where the business outgrows you, if you don't keep up your own development, because I will develop you, but this is a two-way street, then there won't be an opportunity for you, because our plan is to go big. So if you hire, say for example, a finance person, you're going to then at some point need a CFO. Now they either develop themselves, learn on the job and develop themselves to take on that role, or there won't be a role for them anymore because you have to upgrade. So people are in there for a season, they're not there forever, and your leadership will need to develop as your business grows and scales, because it will require different things from you, as will your staff.
My name is Giuseppe Salomon. I am the founder and CEO of Say Bookkeeping. I founded this company in 2017, so we've only been in business for a little over a year. We went from myself sitting at a flex desk with 2 clients to over 100 clients, offices in 2 cities, and I have 6 employees and growing. Second most important thing that you can do when you're starting a business, the first is to set up your legals and get your legal framework in place. The second is to set up your financials and make sure that your financials are in place, because you're never going to be able to grow sustainably and you're never going to become successful if you don't have those 2 things in place. The one thing that he did say that I thought was kind of funny is one thing that I always advise my clients of, which is when he was talking about the legal protections associated with forming an entity. There's something that a lot of people don't know, but if you start using that corporation as your personal piggy bank, and you start using and mixing your personal funds with your business funds, you're doing something that's called piercing the corporate veil. And now you've opened up your personal assets to that liability, and you've completely eliminated the shield that you created when you set up that corporation. So that is probably one of the most valuable things that I'm going to tell you right now is don't mix your personal and your business finances. Make sure that you keep it separate. Even if the account that you set up for your business is a personal account, but you only use it for business, it's better than using a corporate account and just using it to charge personal expenses. Not only that, when you actually do have the money and decide that you want to hire a bookkeeper or an accountant, detangling that mess is going to cost you 50 times more than if you had just kept it separate. And it's going to cost you not only the manpower that it's going to take for those bookkeepers and accountants to detangle that mess, but also it's going to cost you in your time, because your bookkeeper and your accountant is not going to know what you did. They are going to be to a certain extent, but what they're going to do is they're going to say, pull your statements and then sit there on a Sunday all day and go through and mark a B for business and a P for personal, and then come back to me when that's done.
What do I absolutely need to start from a legal and financial perspective if I'm planning for aggressive growth and long-term success?
Comment on the question about evaluating your growth, because what success looks like in your businesses at any one time, it should be measured differently. So there are times in my business where I've not been interested in my profit margin because it's all been about investment. So investment in marketing or investment in resources of staff. And so when I'm sitting down with my board and looking at the financials, we're not so looking at the profit line. Then there are times like now where it's funding me, my Australian company's funding me to be here, and all I'm interested in is reducing those expenses and increasing that cash. Other times, assessment on staff have been more around training than it has been around culture. Depending on where the business is and what the goals are that it's trying to achieve at that point is what you should be, is what I then assess success on, and that changes all the time. It's a very, very challenging thing, and we need to have more conversations about mental health in entrepreneurship because it's very dangerous, and especially with what I talked about before with glamorizing the space. It's a very lonely space, it's very challenging, and it pushes every bit of everything that you've got. And so if you don't understand the impact that can have on your mental health and put aside and go, no, I'm okay, really bad things are happening in this space. So I always like to highlight that when I talk now, because we just need to bring the conversation to the forefront, because I think it's actually part of it's actually part of being an entrepreneur. It's what success is, because it very much depends on what you're trying to achieve at any one time. So I just wanted to talk about that in relation to assessing where you're at. And that same goes for your own level of assessing yourself and where you're at. And I know you've talked about this fantastically, about what skills you've needed when you're fundraising, and where you're so good at networking, but necessarily didn't have the experience, and so that was really required. And I think that's so important to be able to say, my business needs this right now, and I'm actually not the best person to be doing that. I need to get support, or the business needs this, and I am the best person to be leading this right now. I don't like this cookie cutter, because it's a roller coaster journey that you need to be so agile with and understand. And this is where we're all, we love talking about how we're all entrepreneurs and we're all doing starts, we're all doing businesses, but this is real life stuff, and you need to understand the foundations and the complexity of it. Get rid of the glamour that we read about, because I see it, I feel very privileged to be in business, but it's glamorized in the media so much now, and that's not helpful for building a profitable, sustainable business. Because remember, you're not in business until someone's willing to pay for your product or service, and you're not going to be successful in business until you can actually make a profit. So let's take the glamour out and really remember that we're business owners and doing a function that's really complex, but also simple in what you need to do every day.
Real life is crying over gelato on your lunch break.
Yes.
Throwing up
And
your
then
back.
vomiting. Expanding internationally is just a massive feat. It's been incredibly challenging, and I think so many things that I didn't expect, the little things that have been so difficult. I didn't expect there to be such a language barrier, for one. Our tax systems, our banking systems, everything like that is completely different. I value my network so much now, because in Australia I really notice how the business is funded and grows continually because of the network built over those years. And coming here and it's like I've come here, I didn't know one person, and my credibility from Australia only comes so far across the ocean. So doing a global startup, even though it's a sustainable business, has been so difficult, and personally it's such a different lifestyle from where I'm from. But I do think that New York is the best entrepreneurial playground in the world. It's the best possible challenge for an entrepreneur. So where else could I go? And I feel like that's great. But I did want to say about the commitment to being in business, because it's I don't think everyone's built to be in business, and I do think you've got to have the gut for it, because every day you're basically getting in the boxing ring and being punched up, as you all know, because you're all in business too. And that ability to believe in the dream and believe in yourself to get back up and keep going, I think that's not for everyone, and that's totally fine too, because we can't grow businesses without our number 2, 3, 4, 5, 100 and whatever. And so, and that fine line between well-being of where we, I don't know, I do not know how to manage that fine line, and there's so much stuff on well-being now, but it's a very, very challenging thing, and we need to have more conversations about mental health in entrepreneurship. Because it's very dangerous, and especially with what I talked about before with glamorising the space. It's a very lonely space, very challenging, and it pushes every bit of everything that you've got. And so if you don't understand the impact that can have on your mental health and put aside and go, no, I'm okay, really bad things are happening in this space. So I always like to highlight that when I talk now, because we just need to bring the conversation to the forefront, because I think it's actually part of being an entrepreneur.
Processes will wreak havoc on your business.
I have very little aversion to risk, so I've made heaps of fuck-ups. And so I would say one thing if I put all of them together, my biggest fuck up is spending too much time worrying about the fuck up and not just moving on to make the next one, or hopefully not. I don't worry about the fuck ups because it's part of the journey. So like, get over it and get back to work. Another great event here at Primary, the co-working space that I work from, and awesome people here, great networking happening, and it was really good to be able to share some of the learnings, experiences, mistakes of all the things that have happened over the last 15 years in business, and just great to connect with people and build out the network, meet more people. Don't forget to subscribe.